He's one of our favorites. Put your hands together for Greg Bates.
Thank you. Keep it going for Mike Stevens. And welcome to McCurdy's. You know, they're opening a new mall in Washington, D.C. There's a Victoria's Secret that Bill Clinton is going to rename Lewinsky's. And there's a Victoria's Secret for younger ladies that Donald Trump is going to rename Stormy's. And there's a money laundering laundromat there called Pelosi's. And there's also a store that sells lie detector machines called Hillary's. And if you want to surrender, there's a store that sells white flags called Biden's. And there's also a store that sells nuclear missiles called Putin's. And there's a store that there sells excuses called Rubio's. And then there's a store that sells gloves called Freddy Krueger's. And then there's a store that sells machetes and hockey masks called Jason's. And there's a store that sells male enhancement medicine called Peroni's. And then there's a store that called weight loss medicine called Rosie O'Donnell's.
Yes.
And then there's also a store that sells weight stabilizing medicine called Oprah Winfrey's. And there's a store that sells does ear piercing called Tyson's. And then there's a store that sells children's storybooks called Eddie Murphy's. You know, ever heard of the doll set called Melanie's Mall? Anybody remember that? Well, this mall shouldn't be called Melanie's. It should be called Jezebel's. Or a better sounding name for it would be Lucifer's. You know, a man was lying in a hospital bed when a visitor came to visit him. The visitor says, "I have some good news for you. I just talked to the doctor, and he says you have stage 4 cancer and only have 1 week to live." The patient asks, "How is that good news?" And the visitor says, "Because I own the funeral home next door, and my rent is due in 8 days." You know, the last time I dated a woman, her father took me aside and he says, "Son, remember, no matter what you do, keep it in your pants." Well, I'll be more than happy to keep my wallet in my pants. Another woman I dated complained, "I leave tips for the waitresses all the time. You never leave anything." And I said, "That's not true. I left some pee in the urinal." You know, nothing is more annoying than those annoying car commercials. I mean, you're watching football, the Buccaneers are beating the Falcons, and there comes one of those annoying car commercials. They'll say, "We have your car." And I ask, what'd they do, hotwire it? And then they go, "Lease a new Ford Fusion for only $500 down and $500 a month." And I'm saying, who the hell is Lisa? And then they promise you no games, no gimmicks. So I'm thinking, no games? You mean they don't have any pinball machines there? That's boring. Another commercial will go, "The 2023 models are now in." And I'm thinking, well, that is all well and good, except there's only one problem. It's not 2023 yet. Another commercial will go, "Our dealership is celebrating its 35th birthday, and you get the presents. Get a new Ford Fusion for only $500 down, $500 a month." And I'm thinking, that is well and good, except there's only one problem. They're not presents if you have to pay for them. Thank you for inviting me to McCurdy's, and let's hear it for Mike Stevens.
Good job, buddy.
Yeah.